So we've been looking at a number of chord progressions over the last few weeks, and I'm glad to have been able to share those with you, but I have to say, having a sick chord progression is just half the battle. The other half is knowing how to deliver that chord progression, knowing what sounds and effects to use to create a particular style. So in light of that, I want to briefly show you some of my favorite Native Instruments VSTs I often use on my chord progressions. Native Instruments currently have a 50% sell off of most of their sounds and effects, plus a few hardware and software bundles. So now is the time to get in. To mark the sale, I'm collaborating with Native Instruments, DATSUNN and DDS to give you the chance to win some cool Native Instruments prizes. More on that later. Our chord progression for today is D minor 7, E dominant 7, G diminished 7, F6. So at the moment we're using the Maverick piano, and this is the piano I use in all of my chord progression videos and pretty much my go-to piano in most instances. It's super authentic with a bunch of presets and has many ways to adjust the sound so you can tweak till your heart is content. But if you're just playing chords and no melody, then you want to go for something that sounds a bit more interesting with more movement. A lot of you were interested in the pad I was using in my Her Chords video. That was the Monesty from Form. Form is all about movement, and that is what we want with our R&B chords. Can you hear it? If we pop open the additional view, we can actually speed it up and slow it down. But I'm just scratching the surface here. Form lets you import any sample 30 seconds or less and use it as the source for your main oscillator. We also have an additive oscillator which we can use to frequency modulate the main oscillator. But that's a video for another time. Bottom line is we want movement. This is one of my favorite presets from FM8, an FM synthesizer. It's the default preset. The modulation is synced to the tempo of our track, and we can control it via our modulation wheel, or in my case, modulation strip, and it gives us that real old school sound. I love it. The FM8 is inspired by the Yamaha DX7, a synth keyboard that was used in a lot of joints back in the day. I'd often use a Mark I for neo soul or lo-fi. But if I want that old school R&B vibe, I'll often pull up an EP from the FM8, seen as a lot of these joints would have been using the Yamaha DX7. Another way to create movement is through broken chords or arpeggios. But I don't really like to do this with synths personally. It can often sound like there's a bit too much going on, and it doesn't really represent R&B in 2019, from what I've heard anyway. Instead, if I'm going to take this approach, I like to do it with guitars. Now, I don't actually play guitar, so I've been using Native sampled guitar range, and they have quite the number of different libraries with different guitars and playing styles now. And I often like putting my chords through them to hear how they translate on guitar. Or sometimes I'll even start here and come up with my chord progressions using the sound. Different instruments, due to their layouts and timbre, cause you to create differently. And although it's not the real thing, so to speak, you still get the same effect as the chords are voiced for a guitar as opposed to a piano. This often influences the chord progressions and voicings I choose, and it's a very fun process and yields some great results in my opinion. So I'm actually going to send this chord progression off to DATSUNN and DDS, and they're going to turn it into a full beat. If you want to see how DATSUNN and DDS turn this into a full beat, be sure to check out the links in the description below or on screen right now. DATSUNN, DDS and I, however, are just one team. Native Instruments has gotten together some of the other beat makers that were at the creator base too, to team up and work on music. I Am Music Mogul, Sanjay C, Courtney Hawkins, Shaka Zulu and Landmark. You can check out all of the beats via the link in the description below, and we actually have a little competition going on also. Via this link, you can vote on your favorite beat. The beat with the most votes will turn into a remix competition, and the top 3 remixes will win prizes. So be sure to vote and take part. You'll also find links to all of the Native Instruments plugins mentioned in this video down below. As a partner of Native Instruments, I get a small commission on sales made through my links at no extra cost to you, and this helps support me and the channel. If you have any questions about the plugins mentioned in this video or the sale in general, just drop a comment below and I'll get back to you. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you in the next one. I've been Stefan, and as always, happy beat making.